call to order East Chicago Common Council regular schedule meeting for Monday, December 14th, 2020, 6 p.m. If everybody could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we all stand for a moment of silence for Mary Morris Hunter, please? Thank you. Roll call.
Amen.
Councilwoman Monica Gonzalez. Here. Councilman Lenny Francisci.
Here.
Councilman Terrence Hill.
Hello.
Councilwoman Stacy Winfield.
Here, present.
Councilwoman Gilda Orange.
Here.
Councilman at Large Dwayne Rancifer.
Present.
Councilman at Large Emiliano Perez.
Present.
Councilman at Large Kenneth Monroe.
Present.
Council President Robert Garcia.
Present. Any
Hello.
minutes? Any
Hello?
minutes? Terry.
Mr. President Garcia, I just want to announce I am here.
Yeah, no, she did roll call.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm having a problem with my computer, man. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
There are no
Minutes of the meeting?
minutes. They'll be ready for the next meeting.
Any communications from the mayor?
Yes. Can I hear me?
Yeah, just state your name and title.
All right. Good evening. I'm gonna back away so I can take my mask off. Maybe I can. Sorry.
Hey.
Okay. I'm Carla Morgan. I'm Corporation Counsel for the city, and I have two communications from the mayor. So I'll start with the first, and I'll make sure the clerk gets one of these tomorrow. Dear honorable members of the Common Council, this is in regard to year bonuses. Ordinances 20-032 and Indiana Code 36-4-7-3. Dear honorable members of the Common Council, the year 2020 and the COVID-19 pandemic have created many challenges which require the city to make drastic changes to its normal operations. The employees of the city of Chicago clear essential work have nonetheless diligently prosecuted their job responsibilities to keep the city safe. In recognition of our employees' hard work and sacrifice this year, and based on sound financial practices, the city provided an end-of-year bonus to all full-time and part-time city employees. As a my tenure as mayor, in May, prior to me giving the 2021 State of the City address, I will assess our first quarter financial condition and consider additional bonuses and raises based on our financial projections through the end of the year 2021. Regarding the proposed ordinance 20-0032, which proposes to amend two 2018 salary ordinances, with the Civil City Salary Ordinance number 18-0018 and Public Safety Salary Ordinance number 18-0019 to provide a bonus for 2020. As has been the subject of many communications in this last year, we remind the Common Council that any attempt by the council to exercise power outside of that specifically granted by the state of Indiana Constitution or the laws of the state of Indiana is invalid and void from inception. Executive and not the council have the power to increase salaries after the salary ordinance has been adopted. Ordinance number 20-0032 exceeds the power of the council under state law 36-4-7-3 which in pertinent part reads as follows. IC 36-4-7-3, appointment of officers, deputies, and other employees' compensation. Section B, subject to the approval of the city legislative body, the executive shall fix the compensation of each appointed officer, deputy, and other employee of the city. The legislative body may reduce but not increase any compensation fixed by the executive. Compensation must be fixed under this section not later than November 1 of each year for the ensuing budget year. Section C, compensation fixed under this section may be increased or decreased by the executive during the budget year for which it is fixed. D, notwithstanding subsection B, the city clerk may, with approval of the legislative body, fix the salaries of deputies and employees appointed under IC 36-4-11-4. As such, the Common Council lacks the power to increase salaries by providing a year-end bonus. Moreover, because a bonus has already been provided to employees for the year, this action is superfluous. Thus, we ask the Common Council table ordinance number 20-0032. Now, I have one more thing. And this is also addressed to honorable members of the Common Council. From the mayor, no ordinance can be legally enacted by the governing body of a city which conflicts or is inconsistent with either the Constitution or the statute. The Common Council has authority to adopt ordinances and resolutions that do not conflict with state law. The state law in this instance was handed down by the governor through executive order, his executive orders on COVID-19, in which he empowered only the heads of the cities and towns of Indiana to carry out the functions of the FFCRA as relates to the closure of government and the determination of workers. The Families First Rights Act states that Section 10, that the Secretary of Labor shall have the authority to issue regulations for good cause to A, exclude certain healthcare providers and emergency responders from the definition of eligible employee under Act Section 3105 of the FFCRA, provides a special rule for healthcare providers and emergency responders stating that, quote, an employer, of an employee who is a healthcare provider or an emergency responder, may elect to exclude such employee from the application of the provision of amendments made under Section 3102 of the Act. Section 3102 provides for paid leave. Section 5111, Section 1 is a corresponding section of the Emergency Paid Sick Leave Act, which allows employers to exclude healthcare providers and emergency responders from the definition of eligible employees under that statute. The governor delegated to the heads of towns and regions the authority to assist the state in the enforcement of the governor's executive order to implement the CARES Act and FFCRA. The mayor, via executive privilege, ordered exemption from this category of employees for the emergency paid sick leave and emergency family medical leave. First responders and healthcare providers are not required to work if they test positive for COVID-19 and are required to follow the City of East Chicago temporary COVID-19 policies and guidance. Ordinance number 20-0027 is in conflict with the governor's order granting authority to the executive of the city to determine essential workers and to assist the state in the implementation of the FFCRA, EPSL, and EFMLA. As such, the power to exclude the designated category of employees is within the sole authority of the mayor under the separation of powers doctrine, and the Common Council has no authority to override the power that is exclusive to the executive branch of government. Additionally, as it relates to the management and operation of the fire department, the state legislature has delegated that authority to the fire chief, and neither the mayor nor the council has the authority to issue any regulation that conflicts with that authority, with one exception, which is that the mayor, in the event of an emergency, has the power to issue an executive order related to the operation of the fire department. COVID-19 presented such an emergency, and under the direction of the governor, the mayor issued his executive order to implement the FFCRA, EPSL, and EFMLA. To allow this to occur, meaning for the council to try to override the mayor's executive order, to allow this to occur would mean the council can have authority to override the executive order regarding essential workers and non-essential workers. We believe that only a court of competent jurisdiction can override the mayor's executive order. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go to communication from the department heads, I know Attorney Buscemi want to address the council.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the council. Are you able to hear me?
Is everybody able to hear Attorney Buscemi?
Yeah, I can.
All right. Mr. President and members of the council, prior to your consideration of the accounts payable warrants, which is the next item on the agenda, and those warrants provide payment for vendors who provide services to the city, I provide this report to the city council regarding illegal action taken last month by the mayor's attorney, Carla Morgan, to illegally block the city controller from payment of the city council's invoices for defense against the mayor's lawsuit. The council will recall that Attorney Morgan filed the mayor's lawsuit against the city council 1 year ago on December 16th of 2019. Since that time, our law firm has provided lawsuit defense services to the city council. There are $25,000 in past due unpaid invoices that stand owed to our firm for lawsuit defense services that were provided in August, September, October, and November. City council members will recall that at that time, in the late summer, early fall, the city council budget didn't have sufficient 2020 funds to defend against the mayor's lawsuit. So the council on October 26 passed Ordinance 20-0025, and you appropriated $50,000 toward this city council lawsuit expense. The city controller's office last month, after you passed the additional appropriation ordinance, was prepared to enter the council's $50,000 additional appropriation into the city financial system so that the warrants for these past due invoices could be approved and paid. However, City Controller Val Gomez advised me that the mayor's attorney, Carla Morgan, specifically directed the controller's office to not enter this valid city council $50,000 additional appropriation into the city financial system, thus obstructing payment of the city council's invoices for defense against the mayor's lawsuit. These invoices, members of the council, stand unpaid today. This action by the mayor's attorney, Carla Morgan, directly obstructing these payments is illegal and unethical action because it obstructs the city council from having the funding that you need to defend yourself against the mayor's lawsuit, which was in fact filed by Attorney Morgan herself. I conferred last Wednesday with the Department of Local Government Finance Commissioner, Mr. Wesley Bennett, and he advised that DLGF reviews city council additional appropriations only for availability of funding. And the council members know that there was ample funding available of unappropriated surplus in the city general fund at the time that you passed this additional appropriation. So this action obstructs payment of your expenses, which are expenses that you needed to incur because the mayor and his attorney chose to sue you, the city council members, in a dispute about the validity of your ordinances. The council may wish to inquire on its own whether this illegal action by Attorney Morgan obstructing payment of your invoices was specifically directed by the mayor, or whether the illegal action was instead taken by Attorney Morgan on her own without the mayor's direction. Mr. President, members of the council, that's my report to the council regarding this obstruction of your defense in the lawsuit.
If anybody got any questions, I ask you just to hold them to new business. Any other communication from department heads, Vivian?
Yes, accounts payable warrant 112920CC, 121420CC, 121420LA, and 121520CC.
Is there a motion on the floor?
I make a motion, Mr. President.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Franciski, seconded by Councilman Rancifer. Any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Gonzalez,
I had my hand up for a question.
Oh, yes. Sorry about that.
I was looking through the warrants and I had a question. And if Mr. Dalton can better explain, there were payments and there are already payments due for 2021 or marked for 2021. Can he explain that? Because I was a little confused about why we're paying some of the things out. Two items in particular. One of them was for meals for the inmates, or the inmates in the police department. I'm just I don't know if that's what we usually do, or I just wanted an explanation for that.
So this is Steve Dalton, by the way. I hope you can all hear me. I did look into this at the request of Councilman Gonzalez, and here's what we've got here in the situation is that there are invoices that come in that are dated for payment in 2021. They're still due, and they still can be paid in 2020, but they're dated for payment in 2021, and they are valid invoices, and they can be paid with 2020 budgeted money. They also could wait until January and be paid with 2021 budget money. The controller is asking that you pay these invoices with 2020 budget money now as opposed to next month.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Franciski,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Winfield,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Rancifer,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Garcia.
No.
Payroll warrant biweekly 121120. Payroll warrant miscellaneous 12420. Payroll warrant miscellaneous 120420. Payroll warrant monthly 120120. And payroll warrant biweekly 112520.
Is there a motion?
So move, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Hill, seconded by Councilman Perez. Any questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Franciski,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Winfield,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Rancifer,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes. Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes. Any committee reports? Hearing no committee reports, any board reports? Elida, I just asked if, are there any upcoming open board appointments?
Not that I'm aware of, but I can look into it tomorrow morning to see what's open.
Yes, can you please email the council as a whole if there's any openings?
Will do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any ordinance on first reading?
Yes, ordinance 20-0032, sponsors Emiliano Perez, Dwayne Rancifer, Monica Gonzalez, Terrence Hill, Kenneth Monroe, Robert Garcia, and Stacy Winfield. An ordinance of the Common Council of the City of East Chicago to amend ordinance 18-0018, salary ordinance for appointed officers and employees of the City of East Chicago, and ordinance 18-0019, salaries of police and fire personnel of the City of East Chicago.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I initiated this ordinance, and since the bonuses have been paid out, I'd like to withdraw this ordinance. I have the support of my co-sponsors for that, so I would like to withdraw this ordinance today.
Attorney Buscemi, do we need a second on that?
Yes, Mr. President, there should be a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion if required or requested, and then a roll call vote.
Okay. Any questions? Motion made by Councilman Perez, second by Councilman Monroe. Any questions?
Yes, I voted to rescind this as well because I wasn't aware that some of the employees, or all the employees, have received a bonus or raise Christmas package. However, if it's so true that some received and some did not, then there goes a conflict somewhere. So if everybody got a raise, I'm fine with it. But those who got some and some who didn't, we need to find out why they didn't get a raise like the other ones. That's only fair.
Mr. Hill, if you know anybody that didn't get it, please inform us.
Okay. No, I just got that news today that some did, some didn't. So if those who see the council meeting, if you know that you didn't receive one, you should contact one of us. That's all I know.
Any other questions? Hearing no questions, roll call.
We have a question.
Gonzalez?
We have a question.
Yes.
Oh, someone has a question.
Tell him he's not running the meeting.
We got a roll call vote. It's too late. Roll call.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Franciski?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Winfield?
Yes.
Orange?
Yes.
Rancifer?
Yes.
Perez?
Yes.
Monroe?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes. Any ordinance on second reading?
Yes, ordinance 20-0027, sponsored Councilman Emiliano Perez. An ordinance of the Common Council of the City of East Chicago establishing certain temporary COVID-19 personnel policies for first responders and restoring certain lost employment benefits retroactive to the declaration of the state of Indiana public health disaster emergency.
Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. President.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Perez, second by Councilman Monroe. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
Councilman Perez, did you have a committee meeting? Did I miss it? You said that you called a committee meeting so that we could discuss this and put some things in place.
Yes, ma'am. The reason that the committee meeting was not needed was Mr. Buscemi clarified that there was a time limit on the ordinance. That was the prevailing theme at the last meeting about why there was a little bit of disagreement. No one disagreed with the ordinance, but they wanted a time limit. And Mr. Buscemi, if you're on there and you want to speak to that, but he did email everybody and inform everyone, because he copied me on it, that there was no need for a meeting because there was a built-in 2-week period limit on that ordinance. Mr. Buscemi?
Mr. President, Councilman Perez, members of the council, Councilman Perez is correct. There was discussion at the last meeting in November, council members will recall, about whether a committee meeting was needed to recommend back to the council for tonight's meeting a possible limitation on the number of days of COVID sick leave that first responders would be entitled to under this ordinance, 20-0027. And Councilman Perez intended to conduct that meeting. However, upon further review of the COVID-19 policies and further review of ordinance 20-0027, I did determine, and I advised all council members of this by email dated November 26, 2020, right after the last meeting in November, that no meeting was necessary to recommend the limitation because the ordinance by its own wording simply makes first responders eligible for the already existing COVID sick day leave that other city employees are already entitled to receive. And that leave is already capped at 2 weeks of paid COVID-related sick leave. This ordinance would simply plug first responders into that same entitlement. 2 weeks COVID paid sick leave. No meeting was necessary.
Any other questions?
I have one more. Mr. Buscemi, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Councilman Rancifer wanted an amendment. Councilman Rancifer, correct me if I'm wrong, that if the employee was kept out because they did not have a negative test and it went beyond the 2 weeks, that they would be covered. Did I understand you correctly, Mr. Rancifer?
That is correct, because I believe essentially due to no fault of their own, they should be compensated even if they're kept out, but no negative, but they're still testing positive. I don't think they should, be held, they should be held against them essentially.
Correct. Mr. Buscemi, I just want to make sure that that amendment was in that ordinance.
Mr. President, members of the council, Councilman Perez, Councilman Rancifer and I did exchange messages, phone messages and text messages regarding that matter. That specific item was not finalized for tonight's meeting because we never finalized our connection on that particular issue, but it could be added now as a verbal amendment, and then I would submit the proper wording to the clerk's office if the council is desirous to act and finalize this ordinance tonight, or if you're wanting to finalize it at a later date at that time. But it can be done right now.
Is it going to be a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we add that Councilman Rancifer's amendment.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made to amend by Councilman Perez, second by Councilman Monroe. Any questions? Hearing no questions, roll call.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Franciski,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Winfield,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Rancifer,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes. So we're still on second reading for the same ordinance. Any other questions? I know the fire union president, Mr. Mata, he had a question. Dave?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, council members. I did have a question on the ordinance. I was reading through it today, and under section 2, I know last council meeting you guys discussed all in favor of having our lost wages, sick time, vacation time, all that reimbursed back to our membership. In the ordinance I was reading, it does say that without loss of paid sick leave, vacation pay, reduction days, or personal days, but it doesn't specify loss of wages. There's guys, and I only ask that because there are new firefighters who don't have sick time built up yet because they're brand new. And they've been off payroll for 10, 12, sometimes some of them the whole 14 days. I just want to make sure that they are going to get those wages reimbursed back. That was my only question because I didn't see reimbursement of wages.
Mr. Buscemi, can you address that, please?
Mr. President, members of the council, this is the first time that the issue of loss of wages has been discussed with me. And in all fairness to members of the council, it probably needs discussion and clarification. And then if the council members do wish to include that in the ordinance, it certainly, language can be crafted to include that. But this is the first time I'm hearing about this issue.
Any other questions? I figure that we'll get together, we'll discuss this, and we'll make an amendment for the third and final reading. Any other questions?
So, Mr. President, that means we're going to have a committee meeting?
Mr. Perez?
No, I don't think we need a committee meeting to add lost wages. Everybody here knows what lost wages is. If somebody did not have time on the books and they lost actual pay, the ordinance would read that they would get the pay back. I mean, that's what we vote on, whether or not we agree to that or not.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
So another thing that I'm not quite clear on is that do they actually have to show that they actually had COVID?
What I just
Mr. Buscemi?
Mr. Buscemi?
Yes, Mr. President, members of the council, Councilwoman Orange, any first responder, since they're going to be added into this COVID sick pay policy, any first responder would have to follow the specific regulations that are in the City of East Chicago temporary COVID-19 employee policies and guidance that were given to all council members. Whatever the procedure is, Councilwoman Orange, to verify your eligibility, that's the procedure that you would follow. The policy itself is starting at page 5 in section 4 has at pages 5, 6, 7, and 8, 5 and 6 especially has specific procedures for reporting your illness and obtaining your paid leave. There are procedures for call-off policies and practices, and there are procedures whereby a notification is made to the Human Resources Department. Those are the procedures that first responders would follow, just like any other city employee are already following them because they're already covered under this policy.
Ms. Orange?
Yes.
Any other questions?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hey, Mr. President, I got one question possibly for the union president for MATA. About how many new firemen are pertain to this lost wages? Do you know how many?
Yeah, Councilman. They're actually, well, not only new firemen had lost wages, even some of us older. I had 3 or 4 days off payroll. So it doesn't affect just new guys. The new guys, I think, get affected the most because they don't have the ability to build any bank yet because they're so new. So some of us guys had the ability to save days from the past, which covered us with some of the days, but not all of it. So the lost wages impacts probably more of the younger guys and even some of the older guys who didn't have bank neither. But majority of the young guys right now are worried because they don't have any built up time at all.
Do you have a rough number though of how many it affected?
Well, we had recently, out of the worst, we had 17 guys that were off, I believe, somewhere on there. We have a list going around of trying to find out how many guys lost days, how many days they lost, but we don't have that list complete yet. Our secretary, Maria Becerra, she's supposed to get me that so I can actually get a detailed count of how many guys lost wages, how many days, so that we have that list. But I would say roughly maybe out of those 17, maybe probably about four guys lost more than 10 days of pay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Franciski,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Winfield,
Yes.
Orange.
Are we voting on this again? Is this a second time?
This second reading.
The second reading on the amendment?
No,
I thought we had voted on this already.
we voted on the amendment only.
Oh, okay.
Orange,
Yes.
Rancifer,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes. Any ordinance on third reading?
No.
Any resolutions?
Yes. Resolution 20-0013, sponsor Council Member Stacy Winfield, Dwayne Ransfer, and Emiliano Perez.
Is there I'm sorry.
A resolution of the Common Council of the City of East Chicago, Indiana, to honor and commemorate former East Chicago City Clerk Mary Morris Lynn.
Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. President.
I see. I heard Mr. Perez. Who seconded it?
Second.
Second by Councilman Monroe. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
Now, the sponsors of this, and it's just about mutual respect. And I think this was brought up one time when Councilman Hill, something happened in his district. This is in the 6th district, and nobody even picked up the phone to even ask me, did I agree with this? Did I want my name put on it or anything? When you crossing over district, because I was elected to the 6th district, no matter who wants to be over there or what. But the thing of it is that it's about respect. And I should have been consulted because it is in my district. Nobody would like me to go to the 4th district, the 5th district, 3rd, and so on, and go over that councilman's head to say whether something should be done. And this isn't about Ms. Leonard, but it's about saying that if it's in your district, at least that person should be consulted. It should not be that I get to read on Thursday that this is happening on 138th and Pulaski, and that's in the 6th district, and nobody even picked up the phone to say, hey, Gilda, we would like to name a street after Miss Leonard, and everything like that. And like I said, this is about mutual respect. I would not do it in nobody else's district unless I consulted them, and I don't think that was right to go above my head and do this.
Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes.
I would like to publicly apologize to Gilda, Councilwoman Orange, because Mary Morris Leonard was the clerk of the entire city of East Chicago. I do publicly apologize to you for that. And I just wanted to speak about the reason I went with the Pulaski Street and not Catalpa, because I know Councilwoman Orange was on the council when they named Catalpa Street after one of the residents that had passed in over there. And our former Councilwoman Vasquez had something to do with that. I do apologize for that. The reason I asked about the Pulaski Street, because I did speak with the family. They still do own a business on Pulaski as a proprietor of the car wash. Even though it's closed, the families do still own the building. And she was the first minority. She received the first minority business loan in the city of East Chicago. But I do publicly apologize to Councilwoman Orange for this.
Any other questions?
Mr. President, myself also, Gilda, please accept my apologies. As the senior of the three, I should have caught it. It was an oversight. I apologize. I know that Dwayne and Stacy didn't mean anything by it. So I personally want to apologize to you also. It should not be done that way, and I will be more careful in the future. Thank you for pointing it out.
Any other questions? I'd just like to say Mary Morris Leonard was a loved individual that served the city for many years. I know we all hold her dear to heart. And I know it was nothing about going over nobody's heads. We're all equal councilmen in the city, but this is a nice honor for her. Roll call.
Councilman Robert Garcia. I understand that she was loved, but it's about respect. I wouldn't do it in your district either, and you wouldn't accept nobody doing it in your district. And I do accept the apologies, but even though a person may be they could be the mayor of the city, clerk of the city, it's still about the respect. And so, like I said, I do accept the apologies. So we can go ahead on the vote.
Yeah, but hold on. But the thing is that it doesn't matter. Anybody could bring anything up, and that's our right to do. So nobody went over nobody's head. There's mutual respect.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
It's respect, not over no head. Yeah, just
roll call.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Franciski,
Yes.
Hill,
yes.
Winfield,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Rancifer,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes. Any other resolution?
Resolution 20-0014, sponsor Mayor Anthony Copeland, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of East Chicago authorizing an extension of the prescribed period of the temporary transfer to the EC Department of Water Works Fund.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Orange. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Franciski. Is there somebody here to speak on this?
Good evening, Council. This is Weena Guzman. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, Council. This is Weena Guzman, Water Department Director. Again, this is a resolution requesting additional 6 months to repay the $2 million transfer to the Water Department under the previous resolution number 20-00, I believe is 05, which was, I think, passed or adopted back on May 11th of this year, as we are unable to repay the loan due to cash flow shortage. So we're requesting additional 6 months.
Any questions?
Excuse me, Mr. President, she read the wrong resolution. She said 15 instead of 14.
Vivian,
Yes,
did you read 14 or 15?
I read 14.
Yeah, but
See,
we,
that's what I heard. That's what I heard. The
Read
transfer of water.
14, yes.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, Ms.
Council
Orange.
President, for Weena. Weena, is it that you guys are not collecting the money, collecting the water payments? Are people behind because of the COVID and people are out of work? Or why aren't you guys collecting the money?
It's delay in collecting revenues from our customers, and I believe it's due to the COVID as well. We're not collecting as I don't see the monies coming in as they were the previous year. So it is we're unable to make that payment by the end of the year. We can't just make it at this time. So we're respectfully requesting that it be we be given another months for that.
Any other questions?
So I have a question for Steve Dalton. Steve, is this the way it's usually done as far as the bond? Because I can't remember them coming forward last year and borrowing money. I don't know. Maybe they did, but I don't remember that.
Councilman Orange, let me speak to that two different ways. One, this is the appropriate way to do this type of resolution if you can't pay the whole amount back by the end of the year. And it is actually required by the state board that this type of resolution be passed so that you have 6 more months. But you do ask a better follow-up question, which is, has this been happening in the past? And I don't believe it has. I believe that this was the first time in my recent memory that the water utility was short enough of cash that they had to borrow from the general fund. And it would cause me concern, perhaps for follow-up, as to whether or not this is going to be an ongoing process.
Ms. Orange, any other questions? Any other questions, Ms. Orange? Sorry. All right, any other questions?
Mr. President, I got a question for Weena.
Yes.
Weena, is any of this due to the new installation of meters and maybe what that's costing us, and money being spent there that's not being able to pay the loan? I'm just wondering if you've had the money, but you're doing the upgrades that need to be done. Is that part of this?
Well, we're still installing meters as well. We still haven't completely finished installing all the meters. So, but we have installed, I believe it's over 5,000 meters, but we're still, we're still not completed with that process.
Do you know how much in dollars you spent on meters last year, 2020?
The meters were through the SRF. That was relating to the SRF fund. So that was a different type of, program. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Franciski,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Winfield,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Rancifer,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other resolution?
Resolution 20-0015, sponsored Councilman Terrence Hill. A resolution of the Common Council of the City of East Chicago concerning a petition for a special use permit to allow a non-hazardous waste transfer station at 1150 East 145th Street.
Is there a motion?
I'm so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Hill, second by Councilman Orange. Is somebody here to talk about this?
Mr. Morrisroe should be here.
He is here.
Hey, Richard, are you wanting to talk about it, or do you want me to?
I'd like to introduce to you Doug Powers, who is our new city planner. He's entering his third week. He conducted the BZA hearing for this. Doug will give his take on what the BZA did, and I will be available as well for any questions. Doug, continue.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Doug Powers. I'm your new city planner. So the BZA had recently ruled on this action to allow for, the expansion of this current use. They're wanting to have non-hazardous waste stored on site until it can be transferred off another location. I myself went out there with council members and Mr. Morrisroe. They have the structure in place for where this is and proposed to us that if there was issues associated with the traffic and the nearby residential neighborhood, that they will be willing to relocate the traffic back onto the southern street. The board seemed to be in favor of it. There was no other issues or questions provided, but I'm here if you have anything for me.
Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes.
Yes, Stacy and I toured the place along with the new planner a couple of weeks ago, and they gave us a thorough rundown of what they're going to be doing, how they're going to be doing, the safety areas of it. And I think it's pretty good so that other firms can come in there to recycle their product. So Stacy and I, we witnessed the conversation, so I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I got a question.
Yes,
what kind of garbage is going to be transferred there?
So
it's the residue from the rail cars. Some of that is petroleum-based product, other is food product. If it is
Excuse me, I can't hear you.
They're clean. They're sanitizing the rail cars. So a lot of it. Can you hear me?
Mm-mm.
Can you hear me now?
Councilman Perez, did you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, so what they're doing is they're sanitizing the rail cars. So a lot of the salt residual debris is what's being sanitized there, and they're leaving the solid waste or the residue from that is being stored in the containers, until that can be transferred off site. So it's for the rail cars and the tankers.
So it's for the rail cars. So those rail cars for whatever they're hauling.
That's correct.
However,
and was that noticed properly in the neighborhood to the residents?
Yes, the notice was sent out, and the BZA had already ruled on this as well.
And did you guys have a public hearing for the public?
That's correct.
You did have one?
Yes.
Okay.
The Board of Zoning Appeals heard this along with petitioner who talked at length about what it was that they were wanting to do, and it received the full board support.
I guess when I think of rail cars, I think that the bulk of what goes through rail cars is hazardous. Is oil, is sodium hydroxide, it's as 24 years as a firefighter, that's what they train us, right? What's on those rail cars is not good for you. And now you're telling me that you're going to store that across the street from residents, the byproduct. I'd like more information on what exactly which rail car, what limitations you have.
Well, and I'm sure that they can certainly provide that along with, obviously if they have to follow the IDEM regulations, which are going to be a little more stringent than, what we may impose. However, they were fairly transparent on the process, and showing how it is that they were planning on storing the waste, and that, they seemed to give the appearance that they really wanted to work with us and not be a negative impact on the community.
If I may, Mr. Perez, if I may speak briefly.
Yes, sir, Mr. Morris.
They are also applying for the same permit to the state of Indiana. And in so applying, they can only accept non-hazardous waste. And they explained procedurally and in documents what the tests are for the hazardous waste. And hazardous waste has to be rejected and cannot be processed. That non-hazardous waste, which they can't process and transfer, we're simply asking for a transfer permit, goes to Newton County, to land waste in Newton County.
I got one more question. Why would the petitioner not be here knowing that this is ultimately the body that decides whether or not this moves forward? Wouldn't you think the petitioner would be here?
We asked the petitioner, we said we would speak for the project. If you want the petitioner, you can refer this next week and we'll have the petitioner here. I'd
like to do that, yes.
I do not think it was necessary because the documents had been presented and have been heard by the BCA. If you want the petitioner, he will be here at the next meeting.
Yes, I would like the petitioner, actually. Thank you.
Well, I asked that in motion and get all of your councilmen to adopt that if that is the case. I would argue that he is not needed, but will be done if required.
Any other questions? Just for myself, I have the same concerns as Councilman Perez. When this says non-hazardous, and then Mr. Power says it's going to be petroleum in there, what's the truth? You know, so in this resolution, there's nothing that protects the city, no list of products or anything like that. The last thing we need in here is another dump site, even if it's temporary. But when you hauling stuff, cleaning out the stuff from these tankers, and if it's petroleum, that's hazardous. Am I correct, Mr. Perez?
Yes, it is.
So I'd rather have, if we want to save this resolution to the next time where we have him, the owner here, we could do that. Or we could have a better resolution written up, because this resolution doesn't protect the city whatsoever, in my belief.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion we table this until next meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Perez, second by Councilman Monroe. Any other questions on tabling? Roll call.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Franciski,
Yes.
Hill,
No.
Winfield,
Yes.
Orange,
No.
Rancifer,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes. It's tabled to the next. Any other resolutions?
No.
Brings us into old business. Old business. Any old business? Hearing none. New business. Any new business? No new business. Just like to make a statement. As everybody knows, that COVID is high. I know last month we passed ordinance reference our gatherings, but what's even worse than gatherings is the ways people go to the store. The stores are packed, so you got to be careful out there. Just remind our residents, because right now it's two people dying per minute in the nation. They expect this to get worse. But we need to be vigilant, and let's talk to our residents out there. Any other new business? Any public expressions?
Yes.
State your name.
Henry Rodriguez, 4933 Indianapolis Boulevard. I want to circle back to something that was mentioned by a member of the council and the response I made. Mayor was taking the task for not having some kind of ceremony or acknowledgement for the Veterans Day. Not mentioned about my service. In fact, I come from a family of 4 generations of veterans, starting from 1942, going into Afghanistan and Iraq. We have one member, grandnephew in the Marines, another one going, his brother, next year. I noticed that on the mayor's website, they acknowledge wishing the veterans a good day. I also noticed out of all the council members, on their Facebook page, only two council members, one at large, one from the 6th, acknowledged the veterans on that day. No other council member, including the one who took the mayor's task, posted on their Facebook page, unless they took it off, acknowledging the veterans for their day. Also, too, last council meeting, accounts payable warrants from the previous council meeting had been brought before the council again so they could pay 125 vendors. Now, the member who introduced that amendment to the mayor's $40 million to pay these vendors knew he was wrong. And I can understand, and I understand you voted to approve them the last meeting, but some of the members on the council have been there long enough to know that you do that. If you've been paying attention, and this is the, 25th meeting of this year, the 25th time. No, I remember, I'm sorry, that council meeting that was called off. You know that what this money goes to. And 7 of you voted just blindly, as far as I'm concerned, to vote for it. There should be 7 more apologies for doing something that was wrong from the beginning.
Any other public expression? Hearing none, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Our next meeting's on December 28th, I believe, but everybody, you and your families, please have a Merry Christmas.
May I say
Merry
something?
Christmas.
One more. Mr. President, briefly.
What's this reference, Mr. Moronshaw?
Mr. President, I would ask that this be postponed till the January 10th meeting, the resolution 2000.
Yeah, whenever you want to put it on, Mr. Moronshaw.
I'm sorry? Well, I would ask that.
At your pleasure. At your pleasure.
If it may, it be on for January 10th of 2015.
Yeah, no problem. Just get with the clerk, Mr. Moronshaw.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any partying before any partying?
Happy holidays. Happy holidays, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Be safe.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And just remember all those people that have died of COVID, these people that are homeless out here, the people are standing in line for food at all these churches. We got to remember those people. I hope everybody have a happy holiday, but it's a lot of people that suffering in our city.
Yes, they are.
Happy holidays.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Any questions? No questions, roll call.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Franciski,
Yes.
Hill, Winfield,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Ransifer,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Monroe.
Yes. Happy holidays.
Yes. Yes, Vivian.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Happy holidays and thank you, Council.